Welcome to the Dysfunction Junkies podcast. We may not have seen it all, but we've seen enough. And now, here are your hosts, Chrisy and Kerry.
Hello, junkies. I'm Kerry.
And I'm Chrisy.
Alrighty. Well, today we're going to do the other half of family get-togethers. Last month, we talked about funerals. Today, we're going to talk about weddings.
The other event in everybody's life that brings out the best and the worst in everybody.
Yes. Weddings. Do you have a lot of weddings to go to these days? No?
I don't think so. I can't even think of the last wedding we went to.
It seems like they come and go in like waves, kind of like funerals. You get a wave of funerals all of a sudden, and then nothing for a while, and you get a waves of weddings. We've had our share of weddings. You know, I have a lot of extended family, but I feel like weddings, they're definitely different nowadays than they used to be back in the day for us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Very different.
Very different.
like everything else I guess people have evolved, I guess, in a lot of ways. And industries have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general, the importance of photography at weddings.
Oh, yeah.
Is that would probably be one of the biggest things I would have to say probably has changed.
Yes.
Because when we hired a photographer, I got married in 93.
Yeah.
It was a big deal to try and choose one. And the packages were not cheap.
No.
And of course, I had to go with the top package.
The Gold Star Premium Platinum package.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I can probably tell you what the bottom dollar amount was when it was all said and done. Probably spent $2,000.
Which back in the day, that'd probably be like $10,000.
Yeah,
now.
it was a big part of that type of budget at the time. And I mean, I wasn't disappointed.
Right.
And then what's funny is that photographer decided that they were getting out of the photography business like that for weddings.
Yes.
They were strictly, I think, maybe still competing and entering the photography and competitions and stuff, but they really weren't going to be doing weddings anymore, probably because the writing started to, be on the wall as far as where this industry was headed. And they reached out to me because they were probably going through their catalog of weddings they had filed.
Right.
And they said, look, she said, I'll sell you all of your negatives and you have the right to do whatever you want, because if not, they're just going to get destroyed.
Wow.
And
What's a negative these days?
What's a negative?
Does anybody out there know what a negative is? So when you used to take pictures with a real camera,
a film,
and you actually had to put like the little Kodak film in there, and you would go and get your pictures developed, they would also toss in your negatives. So if you wanted to recreate another picture or make another one or whatever, you had the negative to do so, and you had to go to kind of like a lab,
right?
And I, of course, said, well, yeah, me. You're going to destroy my pictures? How dare you? So she, like probably 10, 15 years after we were married, she got another check from me.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, ingenious on her part. But I felt it was reasonable to have access to all of that stuff.
It was like $50.
It was $50.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
But, I mean, when she figures what she made off of me.
Yeah.
At the initial go, she was like, okay, look at me, I scored another 50. So yeah, the photography industry is way different.
Well, especially now because, again, when we got married, they're originally, well, at least for me originally, because I've been married 3 times. So.
Kerry, go!
Kerry, go!
She did.
I did 3 times. But, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have digital cameras. It's like you said, everything was film or Polaroid or VHS video.
Oh, the videography.
Yeah.
Yes,
so you didn't have everybody there taking pictures, where now the trend is people, they may hire a photographer to get like fancy photos, but otherwise they put the little QR code on the table that says, if you're taking pictures, send them to this QR code. And that's the people's wedding album. They're getting everybody in the room for free to send them all their picture.
It's ingenious. Does
is.
everybody know that when they get invited to a wedding, they're also there to work?
Yeah. They got to earn their dinner.
I guess. And, I don't know if that affects the gift you give, but, hey, look I took all these pictures, I'm not getting this off your gift, but
right.
Yeah, maybe that's why we might have been getting invited to weddings, but I just said to myself, you know what, that's too much work. I don't feel like
too much pressure.
I don't want to take pictures,
Well, and then nowadays you have, because, and this is where society can get so dysfunctional. Like, there's just a time and a place for things. I've been to many weddings also where they have said no cell phones because they don't want the picture of the bride coming down the aisle. They want they want the picture of the bride coming down the aisle, beautiful, with all the pews or seats decorated and everything. But what do they got? They have 70 people with a cell phone in front of there because everyone's trying to reach out and get that same shot. But now you have all these cameras.
Thought of that.
Yeah. So
that would be a total problem.
Yeah. So again, because people can't just be like, hey, enjoy the moment, that let the professional photographer take that picture, save your pictures for the impromptu or the candid, drunk person or whatever.
Yes. The cousin that's over there flopped out, passed out somewhere. That's the fun picture.
Right.
That would be my goal.
Right, exactly. Or, video the fight in the parking lot or whatever.
Countdown to Tony passing out, everybody.
So, but like we talked about in our prom episode, this is where this level 2 is. So we have our proms and planning that event. Now we've got weddings, prom prepped us for the wedding. So now the dysfunction continues on the expectations and I'm breathing heavy again. Did you just see that? I'm just thinking about this. I'm having anxiety.
Well, the one thing I have to say I'm probably glad about that there wasn't available back when I got married, and for you also, is these TV shows, these reality shows that, with the perfect dress,
right,
and finding and dealing with brides who are just total monsters,
right,
and so that I would have to imagine that adds a lot of anxiety that is so unnecessary because you already got the anxiety going.
Exactly. Yes.
I got engaged young.
Yes.
And got married pretty young. We were 19 when we got engaged, 21 when we got married. A lot of people, I think, had a problem with that and weren't shy about expressing that feeling.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the one thing, and I guess I do have some hostility about it, is when people when a bride goes to pick out her dress, it's usually an event for her to share with mom, maybe siblings, her bridesmaids. They do it all together. Mm-hmm. And I don't want any pity here because, if you guys have listened long enough, you know that probably the way my personality is, I might have been better off anyhow, but I did all of that alone.
I'm shocked at that.
Yeah.
When you said that earlier, I was kind of shocked by that. Just knowing your mom and how involved she could be at times, like how your stage mom, like that kind of thing where she, I was shocked that she didn't go with you.
Yeah, maybe because she realized the wedding meant she wasn't probably pursuing that famous singer that I wanted her to be.
So she was pouting.
I don't know that she was pouting. I guess I'm trying to understand it.
Right.
But I never questioned her about it or asked. She did come with me to get my veil. This is a funny story.
Oh.
I had my veil made by a shop that the women handmade your veil.
Right.
So I invested in the dress also, but she did come to that. What's hilarious was it was this beautiful boutique. And it had like these glass doors on it.
Oh, Chrisy.
Well, my mom, she walked into the doors.
No,
They had just cleaned the windows because it was like they were real fancy. They were always cleaning everything in there. Yeah. And she totally bonked into it because it was so clean. It didn't look like it was even there. And I think all those women at that hoity-toity boutique were like running over there with rags and like.
She didn't get hurt, did she?
No.
Poor Jano.
It's like when a bird flies into a window.
Chrisy.
Boy. And then, of course, me, I was like, oh my God, Mom, it's so embarrassing. How can you do this to me? Look at the big smudge mark on the window.
Chrisy.
Well, at least she came for
Yeah,
that.
she came. There you go. There you go.
But yeah, and I also just had a lot of family drama.
Yeah.
Because I had very opinionated people that were closely related to this and were not shy about expressing their concern.
Right. Opinion.
And, yeah, I mean, I started out with, we can touch on this, wedding parties.
Yeah.
Is a whole thing.
Yeah.
I started out with a lot more people in my wedding party.
Yeah.
And I still ended up with more than I probably needed, but like 3 or 4 people.
How many people did you have in your wedding party?
Gosh, how many was in? Well, let's just say I probably had like what, 5, 6 people on for the girls. I mean, yeah, I'd have to sit here and count. Anybody want to sit here and listen to me count? Let me think. So there is, I have sisters, a cousin, and then 2. Was it like 5? And 6. It was 6.
Yeah,
we had we had groomsmen matched up with bridesmaids, but because it was the bridesmaids that, of course, were exited out of the thing.
So you started off with 6 and ended up with less?
No,
you had more.
We had more than that.
Oh, no.
We had more like 10.
Oh, geez.
And then it went to 6. But we didn't know what to do with these poor
guys
men.
that
they were groomsmen. they got reduced to ushers because they had no partner. So that was fun. But let's talk about why. I don't know by today's standards if they put a lot of people in wedding parties, but it was something like when you.
So my first wedding, I think that I want to say there was probably 5 or 6, but honestly, I don't think any of them I keep in touch with. I mean, I think on Facebook there's a couple, but that we went to high school with. The second wedding, we just had a couple that stood up for
I was at that one.
Yes. And then the third one, it was just us and, I think Jim's son, Jason, stood up for him. And then I had my best friend, Dawn. Yeah, we didn't do the whole wedding party thing. I think we realized that, the first one was the big all-out extravaganza. And the second one, we realized, we don't need to do all that. Simple in the park.
Yeah.
And then the third one was kind of a mix in between. We had a little bit of a party, socializing. It was at one of the hotels in Las Vegas in their chapels. So,
well, you are asking for a lot of trouble with these large wedding parties.
Yes, you are.
Especially, and I don't mean to be, crapping on the women in the part, but generally they're going to be the ones that,
start the drama, start the dysfunction.
Drama, have a problem. You know, I remember hearing complaints about the expense of the dress I picked out, and then having to have them schedule their fittings, and then we used to have to tell them, you have to go to this place probably to get your shoes because they will make sure that the shoes will match your dress.
Right.
And then you got to buy gifts for these people.
Yeah.
Or at least that was a thing. For your bridal party, you bought a gift, and you got to try and find the perfect thing for that. Yeah, it's a lot. As if you're not already under a ton of pressure.
Oh, I know it. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you were to do it again, what would you, knowing what you know now, what would you do?
It would be very different.
Yeah.
Get married at 21 and just having, I know everybody says you still have that horrible ego personality going, and to some extent I do, but you wouldn't have wanted to know. I was toxic. We talk about toxic people. I was a toxic person.
Aww.
I mean, I probably was, because I just, didn't care what you thought. This is how I thought. My feelings, my thoughts are what matters. I wouldn't say I was a bridezilla, but I definitely just,
it was your way or the highway, and that was it.
It was pretty much what I wanted, and I pretty much did get at that moment.
Yeah.
I got the wedding I wanted. I wanted the big monster, beautiful, expensive dress.
Yeah.
With the handmade veil. I wanted the extravagant church. And even though I'm not religious, but went to
that
Catholic
was also,
school.
right. That was what was expected of us. It was like, and that's what I felt like. I was like, oh, this is what you have to do. This is what it is. And that's why I kind of love nowadays that people really have taken weddings and they really have broken against the grain and they've done their own thing with these themed weddings, or they, elope or have what do they call it when you go away for a wedding? Destination. Yes. Destination wedding or whatever, because I didn't even think any of that was possible back when I first got married.
No, because eloping was, or maybe going to a little bit of a destination, but nothing on the level that they do now.
Right.
But
right.
No, my wedding was very textbook,
traditional,
princess,
Yep.
church, tons of guests, way too many people invited, and the hall, you know, it wasn't. And I always talk to my husband about, we were young and that's what I wanted. Did I ever ask him what he wanted? No.
Nick's shaking his head. No.
You want me, which means that you want what I want. And that's the end of it.
Therein lies the beginning of the dysfunction marriages.
But if I did talk to him later on, 10 years maybe, or even sooner, if we were to get married a little older, I would have wanted something way more simple.
Yeah.
And, not as many guests, maybe more in the evening.
Yeah.
Like, we talked about what the funeral situation was, where back in the day, they had all these different times for calling hours, and then the church, and then the meal afterwards.
Yes.
And that sort of has, morphed into something which I think is more manageable.
Yeah.
Same thing with weddings. Like, we would get married. Some people would have like a breakfast.
Yeah.
And then you would have the church, usually in the early afternoon.
Yep.
Then you'd have this window of
gap.
time.
Yes.
Now, you generally would go and we would go to the park and take pictures.
But what are your guests doing for those 3 hours?
Yeah.
Mingling around.
They go somewhere, they go home, I guess. Yeah. And then you had evening people who were guests usually. They had, I know my mother had a dress that was for the earlier ceremony. Oh. And then it turned into more of an evening type thing for that.
Huh.
And so, and then you had the reception at night. And then some people, even the day before they leave for their honeymoon or whatever, they'd have another breakfast or something early on. The rehearsal dinner was the night before. Oh my
gosh, yes.
I mean, I'm guessing people still have some of this to some extent, but I think it has really changed.
It has.
And I just would have, if I were to get married now or even 10 or 15 years ago, I would have liked to have just had everything kind of in a block that was close.
Yes.
That didn't completely monopolize your whole day.
Right. And that's how it was for wedding number 2 and 3 for me.
Right.
So, because it was the same thing. I remember the big thing about the big first wedding was just that you do all this planning and you're doing all this, but you don't really get to you don't get to enjoy much of it. It's just like you're ushered here. Oh, you got to do this. You got to do this. And now we have this. And now we have pictures. And you got to visit all the, 180 people that you invited or whatever. You didn't just to get to enjoy. And that's what I enjoyed about, especially when Jim and I got married. We had 50 people there. It was, wedding, little reception. The next day we had people over at the house and it was just nice because you actually got to enjoy the moment. It definitely. And then just, let's see, we're going on our 20th anniversary now. On our 15th, well, it actually ended up being our 16th because COVID interrupted it. We did a vow renewal in the Bahamas and that was perfect. It was on the beach. It was just us. Heather and Andrew were there. I was brand new out the gate getting married again. That's what I'd want. Just us. Well, I get when people want to do the get away from everybody and not have all the drama and all the issues and all the,
Well, it's good that you were able to have that.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't in the moment when you first did it, you had the opportunity to also have this is what I want.
Yes.
Type thing. But and then when you get married young like that too, the other thing is that generally parents are involved as far as the financial part of it to some extent. Now, my husband and I, we did invest a lot in it because we were engaged for a couple years, so we were able to save. And we did pay for a lot of the stuff on our own. Right. And my father, though, of course, paid for the bulk of the reception and that kind of stuff. And my father was not shy about telling you he had rules. One of his big rules that he told me was at the reception, when you do the bridal dance and your husband carries you out, he said, don't you step foot back in that hall.
What?
You have to be gone.
Wow.
And the reason his argument for this was because he was in police work. Right. Even though he did work at General Motors, he also did police work too. Right. And he had worked a lot of weddings and seen this a lot. He says when the bride and groom come back, people don't leave. Oh. People start drinking even more. And he says all the weddings he ever worked where the bride and groom came back and people get out of hand, that's when there was a fight. One of the ways I remember my dad coming home once from working a wedding, he said he knew he was done was he was getting older and these guests were young. He said that there was a fight that broke out at this wedding. And he kept hitting this one guy and the guy kept getting back up.
Oh.
And my father says, you know what?
I'm done.
After the second or third time that guy got back up, I knew I was too old. I wasn't doing this anymore.
Oh.
So what's funny is when we had the wedding, and the other rule my dad wanted was he wanted to dance with me during the father-daughter dance. How funny. My dad was not Italian, but he insisted that we dance to the song Speak Softly Love, which is the song from The Godfather.
Oh.
So not only was I had a really great band at our wedding.
Yeah.
They were able to accommodate playing that.
Yeah.
But the gentleman whose band it was, and he was the singer.
Right.
He sang it in Italian.
Oh.
So I had that.
That's a good memory.
The other reason we hired this band was we were Doors fans. Big time. And they played a really great version of Roadhouse Blues. We love that song by the Doors.
Is it really we, or is it you and Nick by default?
No.
Oh, he's shaking his head. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not speaking for him right now, everybody, but we love that song.
Okay.
Well, the band never got to it until after we
had to leave.
And they told me, they said, look, we're going to play it, but it's going to be after he carries you out. And I'm like, I can't, that's the whole reason. So I did have to go to my father during my wedding at my reception, and we had to ask permission for that one song from him. We said, look, they're going to play this one song. We wanted to come in and just dance to that.
And then go.
So instead of Nick carrying me out after Speak Softly Love by the Godfather, when my father turns me over to him,
right.
We ended, and I got carried out after Roadhouse Blues. And my dress was nothing, but of course, big dress, big Chrisy
hair.
ideas, big dress, all tulle, and just an obnoxious amount of dress. And our bridal table was like sort of the path where he would have to carry me out. And I said, there's a bunch of candles over there.
Oh, God.
And I said, Nick, don't carry me out past that table. Find another route. Because I said, if I catch on fire, the whole dress is going.
And the hair, because you probably had a bunch of
my hair was like, it was, because I had really long hair then. In the excitement of the moment, he totally forgot I told him not to do that. So he did run past. I didn't catch on fire. Okay. But what's hilarious is that netting, that dress.
Yes.
It came down a little bit because there's so much of it. The dress was just.
Did you fall?
Yes.
No.
He was fine on the carpeted part of inside the hall, but then when he hit the ceramic tile that was in the lobby of the hall, he slid and he threw me on the ground and landed on top of me, and I screamed, which is very comical. It's very fun. You'll hear it's.
I was going to say, is this on video?
It is.
Oh,
it is.
So you don't see it. You just hear her go, ah!
Well, you see a big puff of white fabric, which is me falling to the ground, and then some man in a tux just falling on top of the white.
Oh my gosh!
So, but
I don't remember being carried out.
I bet you were.
I don't remember.
Oh gosh, really?
I don't remember that. But I've blocked a lot of things out of my past, trauma response.
I get it. But so
you had another rule that you talked about at your wedding.
I did.
You did.
Oh, yes.
About
I know.
Songs that could not be played.
Yes, I did not. And I specifically did ask the band.
This is the bridezilla part here.
I did not want any group dancing songs or any ridiculous, in my opinion, ridiculous songs that they do at weddings. That silly chicken dance. I don't know if they did. I don't think they did the electric slide or anything like that. We didn't have that.
Yes.
What's another? Oh, sometimes they did the Hokey Pokey thing.
Yeah, they did the Hokey Pokey. Yes. Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Why? So ridiculous. At a wedding. Aren't you people insulted that you're asked to do the Hokey? I mean, have you drank that much that this now turns into a thing? Oh, they're doing my song, the Hokey Pokey. Left foot in, left foot out. I gotta go. All right, so there's my opinion on it. Go, Kerry. Here we go.
I will say that prior to my current position, I used to enjoy the chicken dance a lot. But I have a little thing about the chicken dance now because where I work now, the one gentleman there plays the accordion. And occasionally at events, the accordion makes an appearance. Well, for the week prior to said event, the accordion is in the office playing the chicken dance first.
Why?
Practice.
Why that's practice for that song?
I know.
Why isn't he practicing something by like Beethoven? What is that?
I don't know. And I know a lot of it is all in fun, but yeah, I just actually recently had experienced this where the chicken dance was being played on the accordion in the office, and 3 hours later I did another video because it was still ongoing. So I twitch a little bit now when I hear the chicken dance because it's one thing to hear it once in a while and enjoy it and it's fun and it's quirky or whatever. But when you're subjected to listening to it for 3 hours straight, nonstop, yeah, it makes you twitch a little. So, but I do like the line dancing and things like that. Part of it probably is because my husband is not one to dance. He'll slow dance, but he is not a dancer. So if I want to dance, I need a group dance because I just feel awkward by myself on the dance floor. But if it's a group dance, then it's like it's okay. So I do enjoy the line dancing, do the Cupid shuffle, do the electric slide, do the, what's that one? The
Macarena?
Yeah, there's that, but there's also that other one that's something brown. I can't think of the name of it, but there's a bunch of them now.
Right.
Like it's way more acceptable. But.
Yeah, I didn't want this. But I made up for it because the band that we had,
which you're dating yourself too, but you know that.
Well, yeah,
because you're saying band, and people probably aren't realizing you mean a band,
yes,
like actual
like
people playing musical,
band.
right,
people playing live,
not a DJ playing,
not a
right,
DJ, just
band.
spinning music. This was a band,
yes,
and they were very, very respected where we're from. I'm guessing, do they still? They don't do weddings, I don't think anymore. But I might be speaking out of turn. I guess I give them a plug if they're still out there. What's the harm? It was called the House Band, and they played at a lot of the night spots in the Youngstown area. They definitely had a following.
Yeah,
the guy who was in charge of that band, wonderful, probably an alumnus of ours, or at least
could have been
cousins, because we did graduate, I think, with somebody who had the last name. Last names, but so just a lovely. Yeah. And they did not disappoint. But, I mean, at that time, I don't think maybe a DJ was something we might have floatingly thought of.
They would have to bring in crates of records.
Yeah, it was totally different. Yeah, now
this is their mix board.
Right,
DJ Nick is holding up his phone. This is what they use now, and it's just crazy.
I know.
Well, do we think we could do a part 2 of this?
I don't know. It's always possible. You got more?
How about the cake? And these people who go crazy smacking each other with cake all the time.
Yep.
The honeymoon planning, and where are you going? Yeah. People getting too drunk.
There we go.
I had an experience where there was a person at the wedding that got very intoxicated. I can have a quick little fun story about that. So
okay. Well, let's do part 2 then.
Let's do a part 2. We gave
up.
2 parts to funerals.
Right. I guess you're right.
So let's give a little bit of attention to this.
There we go. All right, junkies. Well, stay tuned because we're going to have part 2 of weddings coming at you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.